Good afternoon, everybody, and a very warm welcome to Mildenhall and Districts. And my name's Susanna, and I live with trains. And today, I'd like to wish you a very happy New Year to you all, as this is the first video of 2024. And today's video is going to be about some of the stock on in my fleet, basically. And today we're going to be talking about CEPs and this one. And the first thing I want to say before we get into the video is I wanted to say thank you to and give a mention and a shout out to my friend Dave from Dave's Railway Adventures. And he came over yesterday and we had absolutely amazing time because yesterday we were playing trains and having pizza and catching up, which was absolutely brilliant. So we had a great operation session yesterday, me and him. I think it was about 2 hours or so, or near enough. And I can't stress enough how much more enjoyment I get out of running my layout when there's somebody here helping me. I think it's absolutely brilliant because it's just like you work as a team and you cooperate with one another. And he was running the front, I was running the back. And as you can see behind me, the link, that marks the boundary of where he goes and where I go, so we don't have to keep going underneath the link. So I have to say it was really enjoyable. So and I think he's coming back here next week. Now, whether or not we might be going out to do some railway spotting and somewhere. We're talking about possibly going to Tunbridge, but he might very well be coming here. And if the weather's really shocking, that we might just come back here and he might just come here and we just have another running session. And he'd like to try playing at the back, so we might trade over. So I might end up at the front and he'll end up at the back. So it was really fun yesterday. And this is why I built this type of layout like this, to go around the flat in some ways, because I've always liked the idea of the American way of like the cooperation and the camaraderie between people, and having a group of friends over, just enjoying the railway with a common interest, having fun, playing trains, having a bit of food, having a bit of chat, and it was just absolutely brilliant. So I knew it was going to be good because we get on very well in any case, and the last time he came over we did exactly the same and it was absolutely brilliant then as well. So thank you so much from Dave from Dave's Railway Adventures. And so let's get on with today's video. So today's video is all about CEPs, because I do have some other locos to go through with you, but this one is a relatively recent arrival that hasn't been sort of officially announced until today, really. I've had it for a while, but it did turn up on my cab ride video. So this is a Bachmann 4 CEP. This came from Rails of Sheffield, and this particular one I think was originally retailing at over £400, I think it was, and I got this for just over 200, which is a great bargain. But these CEPs they're kind of almost Marmite in some ways, because they're absolutely fabulous in so many ways, but I have had my issues with them. And it runs absolutely fantastic. It's very smooth, it's very quiet, but trying to get into them to put a chip in them is a complete nightmare. Not for a better word, because so yeah, it's absolute nightmare to get into these things to put a chip in. The other thing is as Graham pointed out on his video before, the connections between the coaches are also a nightmare, because you almost have to connect them all together on their side and then sort of roll them all over in order to fit them. And that's how I did it. But because it gets to be quite a lengthy train, if you're trying to put 8 coaches together or something like that, it's just a complete nightmare. So the connections aren't the best. They do work, but yeah, they're not great. But like I said, I got it for a real steal of a bargain. Now, the thing being about this particular green one is I saw one of these when I went with, I was saying this to Dave yesterday. I saw, when we went to Folkestone and we went to the exhibition there was one for sale years ago. And I sort of was quite reserved about it. And I said, no, I'm not going to get it. I don't need it. You know, it's just a want. And I left it there. No sooner had I walked away from the stand, somebody just picked it up and just paid the cash and walked off of it. And I was just like, I should have just got it there and then. Anyway, it kind of went out of my mind. And until I saw Graham, and he bought one not that long ago. Graham over at Lakeside. And he's got the CEP green with the full yellow, with the full green ends. And he's also got a 4-bet from his last video, from what I remember, and also an MLV 419 motor luggage vehicle. I haven't got the motor luggage vehicle, I haven't got a 4-bet, but I do have this 4-CEP. I did have a blue-grey one, and I got rid of it years ago, and I kind of regret getting rid of it because it was a good unit, but I did get rid of it because at the time I was switching from blue-grey at Network Southeast over to the modern stuff. So this is more like part of my heritage fleet. So I'm just going to drop you down and give you a closer look at it so you can actually see it, and then we'll move on with the video. So here is my 4th CEP, and it's half yellow ends, the number 82 on the front, and it is extremely well detailed. It's not weathered or anything like that, and it is a very, very beautiful unit, and it's very, very smooth as it runs along. Once it's put together, it's one of those units that when you put together, you just leave well enough alone. As you can see on the back, it has got the red tail lights. And what I'll do is I'll quickly put the lights on so you can actually see what the lights on. These are the standard lights that you get from Bachmann, so I'm going to just switch them on so you can see. Now, as you can see, the lights are on. It's quite difficult to see in places, but the way I look at it is I look at it from the point of view that this unit was originally built, I think it was in the 50s or something. It's built in the 50s or the 60s, I can't remember, something like that. So they've been around a very, very long time, and this depicts the unit in its early days. So the lighting on this particular unit is going to be not the best, and I should imagine it was going to be like that in the real world. That when they first originally came out, I mean, I wasn't born in the 50s or 60s, so I wouldn't really know too much about it, but I'd assume that obviously technology moves on and we're now into LEDs and stuff like that. We're not into incandescent bulbs and stuff like that. So I should imagine that back in those days, the lighting was very similar to that. So that's how I see it. So although the lighting isn't the best, I think it probably is appropriate. And I'm really pleased with it. And like I said, for the price I paid for it. The only thing is that when I put the decoder in it on this end, you can see I'm missing a horn. Now I'm not sure if that horn was actually missing because I didn't notice it. I don't know whether it was missing when I got it or whether it was missing when I took the body off to put the decoder in it. So, and it pinged off somewhere. I'm not too sure, to be honest, but they're quite easy to get hold of, so I'll sort that out when I have the time. So this is my most recent set. This is the Batman 3 set, actually, not a 4 set, it's a 3 set, in the Southwest Trains livery. And this is like in the original Southwest Trains livery when Southwest Trains originally took over the franchise. Now, before we get into this particular set, I'll just give you a bit of a background history of it. This particular 3-car unit has got the head code box of 97, and that was between Brockenhurst and Leamington Pier. And this is unit 1199, and it used to run up and down the branch before it was superseded by the Desirers and sometimes some other units too. But essentially when it was running on that short branch line between Brockenhurst and Leamington Pier. Now, I originally had the the Hornby 4VEP on order. But I already had a Hornby 4VEP previously in Network South East, and I wasn't particularly overly happy with the lighting, and I was never really happy with the motor in it. It was pretty jerky, and it wasn't very smooth at all. And it was always in the back of my mind that although I had it on pre-order, whether or not it was going to be the same, although they said it's new tooling, I was kind of wondering whether it's actually the same. So, and the thing is I was tempted to get a sound chip for my green one. And obviously those of you who may have heard on that short clip, you may have heard that this particular unit does actually have sound. So this is the sound fitted version of the 3 CEP. This has not been without its problems. This is the second unit, because the first unit I had a problem with the decoder. I got it home, I stuck it on the track, I tested it, and then I stuck it on the programming track to address it, and then the decoder made this kind of weird noise, and then I could never reset the decoder again. So I couldn't address it, I couldn't reset it, I couldn't do anything with it, and it was no longer running because there was a problem with the decoder. So I had to take it back, and I've now got this one. Now, just like the green one, it's the same issues in terms of putting it together, and thankfully this is, like I said, it's already got a sound chip in it, so I didn't have to open it up, but it's pretty much the same deal. But to try and get them connected up is pretty much a bit of a nightmare. Now, when I originally connected this 3-car unit up, the centre car lighting didn't work. And that's because of the way it's wired. So you have to make sure that the centre car is in the right orientation so it all works together. Because what I found when I first connected it up was that the 2 ends worked fine, but the centre car wasn't working. So I thought, well, let me just turn it around. Maybe that's as simple as that. So I fingers crossed, and I was hoping, and that's pretty much what happened. So let's sort of fire her up so you can see. Now this is a Bachmann sound fitted version, like I said, so I don't know what the chip is inside it, but when I started it up, I was like super pleased, because one of the distinctive features of this EMU is actually its compressor. And but let's just fire it up so you can sort of see. So if we I've stuck the lights on. Now the lights are directional, so which means like on the green set, when you switch the lights on, the lights would be on at both ends. Whereas on this one, the lights are directional. So at the moment, the front ones are on, but as you can see, if I flick it around, there's no lighting on at this end. So if you just start it up, that's that's just the best bit for me. Whenever I travelled on the CEPs and the VEPs, that was just, that whole compressor sound thing was just always kind of thing that I really liked. Now it's got 23 sound functions on it. I'm not going to go through them all, but I'll go through the main ones because, to be honest with you, I won't use all of these sound functions. But the thing being is just that some of these sound functions could really been, in my view, to be prioritised in a better way. And what I mean by that is, like, the saloon lighting, for example, is on function 11. And I kind of would like that within the first 10 functions because that's quite important. But instead, they've got some sort of functions that I kind of think to myself, well, maybe they could have been put further down the list. So on this one, the 2 is the brakes, and then you've got 3, which is the air horn high. And I have to say, the sound is pretty good. You've got the air horn. I mean, that tells you how good the speakers are. It's so clear. I quite like the Southern Region whistle, which you get as well. I really do like that. That's really nice. And then if I just go further down, you can kind of get the guard's whistle at number 10, which is, let me see, function. And that's the response from the driver, apparently. Now, here's the saloon lighting. Now, I was really pleased with the saloon lighting on this one. And the reason why I was so pleased with the saloon lighting on this one was because it's actually nicely decorated inside, which I'll show you in just a moment. And also, you can see that there's a difference in the lighting. You just got to love that compressor. I love the saloon lighting on this because there is definitely a marked difference between what the green one is and what this one is, which is brilliant. Now, the downside of this one is, I'll show you, actually, I'll show it to you when I show the interior of the saloon. So we'll crack on with a couple more sounds. Now, you've got the driver's buzzer, which I really like as well. Sorry, that was me pressing F10 again. So let's go to number 13. So this is number 13, the double buzzer, which I really like. If you press it again, that's the sound you get back from the response you get back from the driver. The passenger doors, which are F15, which I like as well. And I quite like the way that the doors sort of seem to fade out as you go further down the train, which I really quite like that. So if we just listen out for that again on the second one. If I press F15 again. Now listen towards the end of the event, you'll see it sort of fades out, which is really cool. Then you've got the AWS horn, which is like proper how I sort of see cab rides of these things. That's brilliant. And like I said, there's other sounds as well, but I just absolutely think I really like this a lot. I've only really been playing with it today, so I'm going to send it on its merry way, and then we'll do some running shots with it, and then you can sort of see it coming around the layout. So here again, I promised on the view of the interior. Now, like I said, one of the things I don't particularly like about the interior thank you for that, is, as you can see the sound chip. Now you've got this part blacked out on the left. Why they couldn't sort of try and sort of incorporate it so it's not so visible, I'm not quite sure. But when you look at the interior generally, it looks great. And I love the fact that it's got the orange on the, if I can find my finger, just on the back. I think it looks absolutely brilliant. I do love the interior of this unit. If we move further down, sorry, my apologies. It looks really well detailed and smart with all the little labels and first class and non-smoking. And it just looks absolutely superb. And like I said, you can see the end. So I'm really, really impressed with it. But like I said, it hasn't been without its flaws. It is, like I said, now I've got it running, I'm really pleased with it. So now what I'm going to do is we're going to just sort of send it back. So this concludes the end of today's video on the CEPs and the non and sound fitted versions. I must admit, I'm really impressed with the sound. I'm impressed with the clarity. I love the lighting, I love the detail. And then on the downside is obviously if you do get the non-sound fitted one and you have to fit a decoder, it is going to be a bit of a pain to get a decoder in there to get the body off. But I already knew that when I was getting this one anyway. But the fact is, this one's sound fitted anyway. And the other thing being is just connecting it all together. It's just a bit of a pain to connect together because the drawbars are quite fiddly and you sort of have to manipulate in such a way where I think the best way to connect them together, in my view, is just to have a towel and lay it on its side so you don't damage the body sides, and then connect it up on its side and then carefully roll it over. And I think that's the best way to connect them together, to be honest. Also, if you are getting this one, just bear in mind about the orientation of the middle car. As I found out, that it doesn't actually work, the lighting doesn't actually work if it's in the wrong orientation. So you need to make sure that if you do buy one of these and the centre car doesn't work, just try spinning it around first and then reconnecting it all together and see if that actually works before taking it back saying that the centre car doesn't work. So that concludes the end of today's video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed the sounds, and until the next time, it's goodbye from me, Susanna, and I live with trains. Bye bye.